Kampnagel is also located in an old factory building. It's in the northern part of Hamburg, Germany, in a former crane factory complex. In the 1980s, the Deutsches Schauspielhaus, which is one of the biggest and most important repertoire theaters in Germany, used parts of the space temporarily during the renovation of their main building. And after they had left again, after 6 months or something, the former factory was occupied by freelance artists who wanted to take over the building as an art venue. After a very long fight against the deconstruction of the factory building, Kampnagel was established as an association in 1990, and since then Kampnagel is getting public subsidies for running a venue, but still not enough public subsidies to pay any art projects from that. In 1998, Kampnagel was renovated and rebuilt into a multifunctional theater complex, and during the last 25 years, Kampnagel has developed to one of the most important production venues in Europe, but the connection to the local independent art scene still stayed very strong. To tell you something about the capacities, today Kampnagel provides 6 halls of several sizes with capacities from 100 to 1,200 visitors. We have also 6 rehearsal stages, a sound studio, a choreographic center, which is called K3, which have their own dance studios, seminar rooms, and further facilities. We have a cinema, a restaurant, and a big outside area where we just installed the avant garden with psychoactive plants. Here you get some impressions of the whole building. For those who do not know, this is our foyer. The other side. This is our biggest hall, the K6, with 102,000 seats. 1,200. Sorry. Yeah, this is one of our smallest stages. And this is our music club, and this is something special because the music club is run by the curators team. So by me and my 3 other colleagues. And so all the time when we are having concerts, we're doing this bar ourselves. Which is quite exhausting because we had right now we had the International Summer Festival with 15 concerts in 3 weeks. But it's one of our curating principles that we do such things ourselves. Yeah. This is the moods in the 1980s. And here it is today. Yeah. To give you some insight into the facts and figures, every season Kampnagel presents more than 100 premieres and attracts around 180,000 visitors. We present around about 600 performances a year, work with world premieres, co-productions, cooperative events, and international guest performances. We have 80 employees in total, operational cost of 4 million euro, which are covered by public subsidies, and we have no money for art program, and we have to fundraise that and by third-party incomes, by ticket incomes, and co-production money. So. I already mentioned that Kampnagel is working in a kind of triad. So we have one special team for the season program, which can be called the heart of Kampnagel. This is the program we are doing from September till June. And then in summer, when most of the theaters in Germany close their doors, we open them again to offer the International Summer Festival, which is a 3-week festival. Which is done by a separate team by Andras Siebold and 2 other curators. And we have the choreographic center K3, which offers residencies for international choreographers. And they also have a very local mission. So their mission is to transport the ideas of contemporary dance into the local scenes. So they offer a lot of master classes, but also classes for the public. Yeah. So. To tell you something about our mission, and this is something I will read out for you. Kampnagel is a local and international venue for young, emerging, and large-scale productions, a platform for exchange and social participation. Kampnagel produces, promotes, and presents local, national, and international works in theater, performance, dance, music, and visual arts, and experimental temporary architecture. Kampnagel does not only present productions in the 6 halls, but also presents productions in public space several times a year. We work in a permanent dialogue with our artists, and we are seriously interested in their subjects, questions, styles, and aesthetical forms. Kampnagel creates crucial lines between the different languages and subjects of the artists and steps into an active dialogue with artists, activists, scientists, public, and institutions in and outside of Hamburg. Kampnagel brings up subjects in a dialogue with the artists, being convinced that the work of the artists provokes a multiple perspective on social, political, and economical changes in our world. Kampnagel is convinced that bringing together different disciplines, high culture, pop culture, and subculture, is creating new impulses for the arts. Concerning the permanent overload of problems and information in the global world, it is important to focus on strategies and experiments of navigation of the artists. We are convinced, and this is that this is the utopian potential of the arts, that artists are able to project alternative strategies of acting in our world and for our planet. Thus, we work rather like exhibition curators with many different productions that have to be placed within the larger context. So, this is our short mission. Okay. We do not only work local and international, but if you want to divide our program in like different genres, we work on the level of artistic experiments. The big stage tunes, which is a music program with performative music formats. We have several programs between arts and science, and we have political projects, and we have a lot of intervention and participation projects. And I can just show you some examples. The sector of experiments is, I guess, which is the most difficult thing for our local audiences. So we try to work with tricks. We have the productions for the big stage, and we try to use them as an entrance door to other formats. Like, for example, we are still doing dance theater, like inviting productions, for example, of Pina Bausch, and then to do some little tracks to other formats. Like, for example, this is one cross-genre format from choreographer Keith Hennessy, which was called Turbulence, a dance about the economy, and he used theories about the economic crisis to create a dance piece out of it, speculating with the bodies of the performance and with the bodies of the audiences, in fact. So this is maybe one of the most radical things we did the last year. This is a very experimental thing we did. We did that at the end of our last season. First pop-up hammam in the world, which is a very good example for a local international trans-genre project we did. This place, the idea was to create a kind of heterotopy, like a room which works differently. And the idea was that we wanted to create a queer room which works against the cliches of Orientalism and Islamophobia. And we invited queer artists from Hamburg, but also artists like Keith Hennessy, you saw the picture before, musician Yassim Hindi, but also curators and choreographers, for example, from Morocco, Taufik Isidou, but also Hamburg artists like Corinna Kort. And the idea was to do performances in this place, which really worked as a hammam. Yeah, so we had this sauna feeling inside there, and in between we had the performances, which was really nice. One very good example on a production level for local international cooperation is our permanent work with the group Intersdorfer Klassen, which is a performance group based in Hamburg, Berlin, and the Côte d'Ivoire in Africa. And they cross music, dance from the Côte d'Ivoire. They work with stars of the Coupé de Calais scene, but also German theater in one format. And the idea of this group is that they confront the cultures of the different performance. They work with their biographies, with their social realities, and clash it together in the performance. And there's a lot of discourse in the performances. It's mostly in French and German, and they work with live translation on stage. So the performers are translating each other all the time, and they never have a consensus. This is another example of an Austrian group we work together with very frequently. They did a very local project in the city inside of a festival called Zoo 3000. And the idea of the festival was to discuss the relations between humans and animals. And what they did, they casted people from the streets in Hamburg and asked them to be part of an exhibition, like zoo animals. But the exponents were not animals, but social outsiders, like people living on the streets, for example, like punks and so on. And the people could then walk through the exhibition and learn about those exponents. Yeah. But this created a lot of local discussion in the city, of course. I told you about the big stage, and this is, I guess, for the Hamburg audience. In the beginning, it was difficult, but now the audience has become quite used to watch works of international stars, and sometimes we use tricks as well here. For example, if we invite Pina Bausch, the audience knows what it gets. But sometimes we invite just new choreographers they do not even know, and we work with the same marketing strategies. So they have the impression from the beginning that this must be something very special and very big. For example, we worked with Christian Rizzo for the first time, and we put him into our season opening. He did a piece about traditional Turkish dance and the connection to contemporary dance. Which is, and he worked with just male dancers and 2 live drummers. And this is something which might be difficult for a German Hamburg audience, but we just did the same marketing campaign like with Sidi Labi Sherkawi, and it worked quite well. And we also, I mean, he was in Avignon, but nobody knew him in Hamburg. Yeah. So. I just switched through now. This is Bruno Beltrao. We work often with him. He's working on the border between hip-hop and contemporary dance. At Kampnagel, you all know him, I guess. Ceko Siompo is also somebody we just announced as the star from West Papua. He works between traditional dance and hip-hop. Yeah, and this is another category, performing music. This is our format called K-Tunes, and we try to invite artists who work between performance and music. And there are stars like Patti Smith or also Yoko Ono, who then work with other artists, but also smaller club formats like Small Beast, where a New York artist, oh no, I forgot his name. The idea is to bring together different artists from Germany and from New York to play together one evening and to create a club evening. But also concerts and performances of Chili Gonzalez, who worked together with Adam Trainer, for example, for the last summer festival and created the first theater piece. The fourth thing is that we do a lot of local international congresses at Kampnagel. We have several formats, like one with a Hamburg-based Zeit Foundation called Network, the Future Camp. And the idea of this is to discuss with the public about the future of our living in the network society. And the Congress is for local people, and it is organized locally with a local foundation and with other partners, but we invite international speakers. And the idea is to not to make like the popular discourse, but to invite really scientists, but who are then open to talk to our Hamburg public about the problems of our world. And the another thing is a very huge congress we do annually, which is called Work in Progress, which is about the future of work. And it's another partner, but it's the same principle. We also do a lot of projects which are social politically. For example, a festival called Old School, which is about the role of elderly people in our society. And the idea of this is to get rid of the cliche that old people are on the one hand, like people who are outside of society because they have dementia or something, and the other image we have of the elderly people is like the the bicycle, like the 65-year-olds going on his bicycle, and we never really discuss about what does it mean to be elderly people in our society. And the idea of this festival is to change that. And the idea here is to work together with different universities. For example, in the last format we worked together with the University of Witten-Herdecke, who are experts in dementia, but also with foundations like the Körber Stiftung, who run a house for elderly people. And to cross also here artistic perspectives with scientific and perspective of the healthcare sector. And this is also a format which works internationally. So we work with local foundations, local partners in the city, and invite international artists to present their views on the topic. I guess I have to get faster, right? Okay. It's 16 minutes now. This is another thing. Last year we had it was this year, in last season we had a festival called Choreography and Protest, and it was about the connection between protests and choreography, and we put activists and choreographers together for that festival. And here we had, for example, some projects in public space. For example, Omer Krieger showed a performance called The Clash. And he did a public intervention where policemen were confronted with activists, and they clashed together in front of the main station. It was an intervention, yes. And of course, with those kinds of interventions, we try to get also another audience and to make them interested in our work. Yes, and this is kind of an invitation. Our season opening this year, being in September, the end of last September weekend, will be a festival called We Don't Contemporary, and this is wrong, and we know that. We Don't Contemporary. No, but we want to discuss the question of the term of contemporary or contemporaneity. We want to discuss that before the in front of the background of post-colonialism, and we invited choreographers and directors, but also curators from different African countries to make a program with us together. And for a part of the program, we just gave them money. We just gave them a budget to do the things they want to do on the topic, and we didn't do anything. We didn't do any decisions about that. This will be quite interesting, I guess. Of course, we have also participation formats, like this is a project for that we founded a choir of elderly people, and was part of the old school projects. A Hamburg artist called Maria Ludovic made a production about the last step before dying, and she worked with a choir of the elderly in Hamburg with people over 75. This is a more fun participation project called Orchester Karaoke. We do that every summer festival, and we have a huge orchestra from Hamburg, the young orchestra from Hamburg, and then you can sing along in the big hall in the K6. This is another, we like karaoke at Kampnagel, I have to admit that. This is our queerioke format. This is one of the most important queer parties in Hamburg, with 350 guests every party, and it's a queer party open for everybody. People. This is more a crossing of voguing and karaoke. We do that every month. I already talked about that. Yes. I don't have time for the trailer. No? Okay, so maybe this is the last thing I want to say. I guess one of our principles is that we, after a long history of working internationally at Kampnagel, we can say that we do not make any difference between local and international artists anymore when we choose for who are we working with. Because all our festivals we have in the season and outside the season are based on the idea to bring local artists together with international artists. another principle is that we are very open to be influenced by artistic strategies. So it's not that we work with a motto for the season, for example, but that we are in a permanent dialogue with our artists, with our networks. What are they working on? What are they interested in politically? But one of our main questions we are interested is the question of power and culture, and the artists we are working with are sharing this. And the requirements to work internationally, like Kampnagel, is, I guess, that we have a very diverse team at Kampnagel. We are 4 curators and the artistic director just for the season. And I guess we are all experts in very different fields, not only in genres, but also nationally. That we all have our countries we are traveling to, and this is a long-term process to become experts in cultural fields and regions. And we also, and this is something you have to be open to because the program is so broad, and if you don't want to work on a very flat level, you have to work, of course, with other associated experts, like with universities, with theorists, and things like that. And of course, we have a high amount of traveling, and we are inviting actively only. So it's different with the Hamburg artist. The Hamburg artist can apply for becoming a Kampnagel artist, but internationally we are just inviting actively. And of course, the European networks are very important for us. We had this network, Space for Life Art, which ended last year, but it was the initial point of our very important Life Art Festival that we are doing further. The Life Art Festival is our most radical experimental festival, and we are also part of the network Imagine 2020. And I guess Judith will tell you more about that, which is a climate network working on projects on ecological sustainability. And yeah, I hope that I could give you a small insight in what we are doing. And thank you very much for your attention.